disturbance.
Am I audible? Am I visible? Not yet?
You are audible, sir. I can't see you.
Okay. I'll just do one thing. Yeah, start video.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You and architect Vaishnavi both are visible.
Yeah, Vaishnavi is going to help me out in my session, you know.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm right now at Dwarka. I just came for a visit. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Jagna. Yeah. Mine is for 1 hour or 1.5 hours?
Sir, it's 1 hour session. After that, there will be a 20 minutes of question answer session, sir.
Fine.
We'll start, sir.
All the participants are online or they are physically attending there?
They're online, sir.
Fine.
Yeah.
Vaishnavi,
Yes,
could
sir.
you able to just go to the presentation part if you don't mind?
Yes, sir. I'm opening, sharing the screen.
Vaishnavi,
Yes, ma'am.
Vaishnavi, let me just start.
yes,
Yeah.
we will introduce the
There.
session, then you can share.
I'll introduce
okay.
her and then you can start. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just stopping the sharing of the
Yeah.
slides.
I'll start my screen share and we'll start it.
Sure.
Yeah. Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. I, Architect Jharna Dongre, Assistant Professor on the behalf of the Oxford School of Architecture, Bangalore, would like to welcome all of you to the day 2 of 5 days National Online Faculty Development Program on Effective Teaching Methodologies in Architecture in collaboration with COA-TRC Bhopal. Before starting the FDP, I would like to bring few things to everybody's notice. Each day's session shall be carried out on a different Zoom link. We will share individual login details for each day's session on a preceding day. You're requested to log in or join the meeting with the same with the same name with which you have registered in this program. Kindly avoid logging into the meeting with any other name apart from your original name. You're requested to log in for the session 15 minutes prior to the session to ensure a better experience throughout the event. Kindly keep your microphone on mute and video camera on off while the expert sessions are in progress. In case you have any queries or questions while a session is going on, you can type it in the chat box or you can ask them in the Q&A duration at the end of the expert speaking session. An expert speaker session is divided into 2 modules, which are as follows. Module 1 will consist of 60 minutes of presentation. Module 2 would be 20 minutes of Q&A session. E-certificates will be provided to those participants of the program who have paid the registration fee or are nominated by the institute under the CTP and have fulfilled 100% attendance criteria as well as scored more than 60% on the MCQ test, which is scheduled on the last day, that is 2nd December 2022 from 4:15 p.m. to 5:15 p.m. Attendance shall be counted individually for all the sessions scheduled during a single day. Please contact program coordinators in case of any queries, doubts about the program. Let's get started with today's program. It gives me really immense pleasure to introduce the first speaker of our day, Dr. D. Vijay Kishore. Dr. D. Vijay Kishore is professor at SPA, JNAFA University, Hyderabad. He is former OSD, and Acting Vice Chancellor at Dr. YSR Architecture and Fine Arts University, Cuddapah. Also a former Registrar, Director and Principal, School of Planning and Architecture, JNAFA, Hyderabad. He has 28 years of experience in academics and 19 years in administration. He has been a part of institutional infrastructure development at AICTE and JNAFA Hyderabad campus. Also, he has been a part of various prestigious architectural and interior design projects. He has attended various international and national conferences. Also has published journal at international conference at Malaysia, and compiled and edited various lecture notes and books for subjects like town planning and advanced building construction. He has received the Best Teacher Award in Architecture by Andhra Pradesh government. Now I would like to invite Dr. D. Vijay Kishore sir for the talk on capacity building of strengthening architectural institutions and education gap analysis part 1. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jadna, for introducing myself. And
Thank you,
is it
sir.
audible? Audible, no? I'll just get into the aspects.
Yes,
Since
sir.
you are introduced me very well, actually. I completed more than 30 years right now. That is what I presented time back. Vaishnavi, could we able to just get into our business, please? Because we have been given only 1 hour. The presentation is being divided into 2 parts. One is about the gap analysis part and also capacity building, which will be dealt the policy aspects by me. I am Professor Dr. D. Vijay Kishore, and my colleague Naga Vaishnavi is also doing her research on educational aspects into architecture. So I would like to ask her to also pitch into the aspects related to UGC, AICTE, and COA, and related aspects with NIRF and NAC, etc., etc. This is I think the theme has been given effective teaching methodology in architecture. But I'm just getting a little bit away from the topic that capacity building and strengthening of architectural institutions and education, and introspection, and along with the gap analysis, which is also I find, because in my experience, I was thinking this is very much pertinent and also relevant in the today's context, because most of the 594 institutions have been recognized under the COA, which have been functioning all over the country, which requires quality output actually. With that intent, actually, I just selected this topic, and the organizers also agreed upon. So I would like to dwell into the aspects of gap analysis first, and also the capacity building aspects. Can I have the first slide, please? Yeah. See here, what you can find is mostly the architectural education is an education which is innovative and also creative in nature, which requires greater insight with respect to teaching methodologies concerned. What I was just thinking, most of the institutions which have been offering architecture, I'm not just making a blanket statement, but I realized it because most of the seekers who are taking up teaching as a career were just getting admitted after doing their masters, and also would like to imbibe and also strengthen their skills. That is the intention with which the Council of Architecture has very aptly introduced this FDP courses from time to time all over the country. So which is very good, in fact, as compared to the rest of the disciplines. I know even AICTE also has introduced quality improvement program cells under various IITs and NITs to equip their product of teachers. So the National Education Policy 2020 was also insists upon having greater, what you can call it, in-depth teaching qualities and teaching technologies to be adopted, and also to have a better leadership qualities. Those who would like to seek this as a career and profession, I think my lecture would be of a great help, because this I made an essence of it actually, and just put it in the slides, which I'm going to present it right now. In the first slide, you can see the formal education has been, which is expected to create creative thinkers, critical thinkers. This is an underlining factor. The other slide, which you have said that in implementation of understanding the various factors influencing the architecture, institution, and education also need to be taken into consideration. For example, I'll get into the other slides. You will think that each institution should have their own philosophies. I think I'm visible. Can I able to hide myself? Hide thumbnail video. Yeah, is it fine? Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yeah, fine. So here you can see, the different aspects of architecture education. Basically, it has been taken into consideration the ideal view of understanding the education in 5 aspects. One is architecture curricula, that the syllabus, which has been prescribed by COA from time to time, and also which has been taken into compartmentalization by the people. The practice has been taken into one core. The pedagogy, the science of learning, is also taken into. There is a research part is separate, and architectural institutions, which is there in the ranking, there's also been taken into some other fashion. And the overall education system in India, as you know, that right from time immemorial, that the UGC is prescribed certain rules and regulations, AACT says something, then the accreditation part will come into picture, then the Council of Architecture insists upon some things. The next slide. Yeah. See here, the key educational aspects I was just insisting upon is the curricula part. That is then policies of the institutional development. That is policies and philosophies. I am going to dwell upon what are the philosophies, etc. Then we have to also have a collaborative or MOUs with industry. Then what are the infrastructure present in the institution along with the equipment? Or is it outdated or redundant or put to use? And the human resource, which is very, very important actually, the faculty and staff, and the regulatory organizations, statutory organizations, they're coming into the picture. Council of Architecture, for example, UGC or AACT or NAC accreditation, etc., etc. And what is placements and also outside the market needs with respect to how do we compete with the rest of the professions, and also the research part, the pedagogy, what we have been taken into consideration. Okay. Next one. Yeah. The architecture curriculum here you can just see, it has been again followed by, I was telling you about the institution philosophy. Each institution shall have its own philosophy. Some people will follow the Western philosophies, the Eastern philosophy. Mostly the architecture falls under the elitist philosophy because we have been called as elitist profession, as also creative thinkers. And we are less in research because we have to practice and preach was the concept. Then what are the industry requirements sometimes we'll miss, where unlike the engineering where they have a lot of incubations along with the research which has been imbibed, which is also missing link in our curriculum actually, because we have to also have a lot of incubations within our campuses. Then ranking and accreditations to see where do we stand based on the like NAC accreditation or NIRF ranking, etc., etc. Then Council of Architecture prescribes the Part A and Part B syllabi up to 3rd year what we need to follow, and 3rd year, 4th, 5th year what we need to follow. The science of architecture. This is about the slide. Next one. See here you can see, the very qualitative aspects of thing is institutional philosophy. That's what I was just emphasizing on. Each institution should have its own philosophy. For example, some people will have, say, pragmatic approach. Some people would like to have its own essence, like what I was the theoreticians or pure academic in nature. Some people would like to have a pragmatist. Some people would like to dwell upon in utopian architecture. Some were very close to the IITs and etc. They would like to have more technocrats coming out of it, and followed by researchers, activists, historians, conservatives, innovators, experimental, etc., etc. So this is about the philosophies of this. Will go in detail. Then pedagogy, I was talking about the detailing part of the science of curriculum. Then from time to time, Council of Architecture had its own education desk and also what you can call education committee. I was also into the PG committee at one point of time as a convener in the Council of Architecture. So they will also go through it. Is it relevant or irrelevant, and what are the new courses like digital architecture need to be introduced, and what best that they can introduce, and the qualitative aspects also inclusive of having collaborations. See, the collaborations is very, very important part. For example, I would like to emphasize here, supposing one institution has been situated in Bangalore or maybe in Chennai. Is it audible? I think I'm getting some crosstalk. Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you're audible, sir. I request all the participants to please go on mute.
Say, for example, an institution has been situated in Bangalore. So what are the cluster of what you can call it universities other than architecture? So architecture, you know that
Sir, you're on mute, sir. We're not able to hear you.
Sir?
is it fine?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now you're audible.
Yeah. So a cluster of activities actually we need to have. For example, in Bangalore, we have say supposing around 2 dozens of architectural institutions where they can have a zone-wise certain clusters. They can have interaction with IIMs. They can have interaction with IASCs. They can also have interaction with certain private universities, because what are the best is available, or the the HUDCO or Nirmiti Kendras are there in and around. They can also have a collaboration with them. So that was the intention actually, with which I think we should go hand in hand, because otherwise we will only confine only to ourselves. Like architecture has to be taught only by architects. Of course, we need to be taught only by architects or architecture registered with the Council of Architecture. But at the same time, nevertheless, because we are in the 21st century and where the science and technology and innovations are also part and parcel of the system right now, I think collaboration is very, very important part we will play, because ours is being a practicing profession where our product need to go out into the practice and they have to perform, isn't it? That was the thing. And conducting a workshop, conferences, training programs, research activities for teachers from time to time is also very, very important. And I think COA is taking a great role in addressing this. I think this part of this Oxford College, which is conducting this program, has been initiated by the same COA through, I think, SPA Bhopal. So that is a good class under which I think we are operating right now. And the market and industry needs also we need to. So a lot of incubations need to come into the picture. Unlike engineering, I think if you go to electronics and also computer science, etc., if you go to, I think, Southeast Asian countries like South Korea, and I know a couple of people from our JNTU, Cuddapah, I think also maybe your case in Vishwesvaraya, they have been to Seoul, where I think the research scholars and the parts of the post-doctoral, they have been positioned or been asked to work in the Hoseo University, where the Samsung people are also in there. So one research scholar, a professor, and 2 working professionals from Hoseo, I think Samsung, they both were there. I think it is, I think 1.5 year program. They came out with, you might have seen, the versions keep changing from time to time in Samsung and whatever the electronic gadgets, isn't it? So we need to also know what are the building materials coming up, what type of technology, teaching, what you can call it, construction technologies are happening in and around. I think we need to be taught about. Then knowledge of international standards and syllabus, because that will come once you are into the market. The next one, then I think 1 minute, quantitative aspects, the rankings and accreditations. So which is a byproduct of your performance. I don't think that we need to dwell and also only work towards getting into NAC accreditation. That should be a continuous process of your, what you can call it, inculcating and adding a lot of aspects and also a lot of infrastructure into your, what you can call it, vicinity. So I think once that has been done, that NRF ranking also will improve, followed by NAC accreditation. I think that is an automatic thing. for which I think you need to work in separate, exclusively. That is my thinking, Then once you follow the pedagogy part, it will leads to better infrastructure and also better equipment, and faculty and staff will be based on now I think COA is insisting upon to take the faculty with certain prerequisites. I think automatically it will come into picture. Then COA guidelines for course curricula. This is what we are talking about, grade system, number of hours, examination, evaluation, because this has been done very scientifically by COA through its education committee. So I think that is one of the things we need to follow. There has been a quantitative aspects, because that we need to have 29 faculty for 80 intake for the full 5-year course, fully loaded with respect to HR is concerned, with respect to faculty is concerned. So infrastructure, equipment, faculty, student ratio, guidelines from other statutory bodies, UGC, ACT. I think compared to ACT, I think Council of Architecture, we have better norms. There is 1:14. Council of ACT now stipulates 1:20. So that way, I think we are better placed, because we have to have design and construction areas. We need to have 1:1 or 1:14 means 3 faculty plus 1 the person who is teaching, who is working in the industry also will be taken into consideration. That way, I think we are better equipped, and also the guidelines which has been stipulated by COA is also perfect. The student and faculty performance in terms of awards and recognitions, of course, it will follow suit, because once you are into the, I think we have a lot of other platforms also to showcase our performances. Then one thing I think what I find, the research and development activities and also grants, which has not been given abundantly, I think which need to be looked into, and also a lot of faculty members should be, I think, should be given a free hand, and also should come out with a lot of innovativeness and also publish papers from time to time, so that at least it will be recognized, and also people would know that I think a lot of activities happening in so and so institute. So that is one area of identifying the institute. I was telling about the philosophy of the institute also should be able to match with that. And understanding of the market industry needs, because I think each institution had its own placement cell, and also that also should be taken into consideration. Next slide, please. Next slide. So here, so I was talking about the institutional philosophy. See, philosophy, each institution shall have its own philosophy, because I was talking about theoreticians, pure academicians, philosophers, pragmatists, utopians, technocrats, researchers, activists. Okay, and the next slide, please. So here I was talking about the elitist and also popular. So there's two types of philosophies which are being taken into consideration. That is Western philosophies and also the Western perspective and Eastern perspective. The Western perspective, I think we mostly fall under the aspect of elitist, where the utopian type of where we will have ideal society, and based on the ideal society, I think we'll select the uniqueness of ideas, in identifying that institute. Then very scientific in nature. Supposing, for example, predictable society, I was talking technological forecasting. Supposing we were part of, I think, JNTU, and also take into consideration the IITs of Kharagpur or whatever it may be. I think they are more into technological innovations. I think the more pertinent here is a scientific basis. So the technological aspects will be, because we have been surrounded, and also we have a, by virtue of having, I think before got separated into JNFU, so we were part of technological university. That was one thing. And also humanist philosophical aspect. That is, we will have intellectual conjecture and also better school of thought. I think the faculty, those who will take, supposing we have a blend of faculty, those who have did their masters from various schools of excellence in the country, supposing for SPAs like SPA Delhi or SEPT Ahmedabad or IIT Kharagpur or SPA Chennai, SAP Chennai, or etc., etc. So JJ School of Art and Architecture, Manipal, Bangalore, etc., etc. I think we are going to have, based on that also we can able to devise our own ideological aspects actually. Then we are talking about the popular aspect. There is a very bureaucratic and also liberal. The next Eastern perspective, just the next slide, please. So here they call it up as a very egoistic, pragmatist. I want to have, so I, as a leader, I would like to introduce, isn't it? That is called a very egoistic and pragmatist. What the people want, what I will give. There is a very pragmatism approach. And I think mostly of late, it has become all institutions and also administrators have become more like a facilitators rather than, I think, the other two. So here people will decide and we will provide them. So that was a facilitation. Then technical assistance given to each one, isn't it? Based on that, we'll give you a technical assistant. And also advocacy. I know that is one of the key aspects with which I think we are operating right now. People what I can, isn't it? So I will advocate and I will ask them to work towards that direction. Next one. So here, I think institutional ranking, accreditations, other statutory bodies, I think these are all also partly required. I think I would like to insist my colleague Vaishnavi will look into all these things in detail. The next one. ACT, yeah. Up to ranking, I think she'll go to NIRF and ACT, COA. Please come to the gap analysis, Those slides which we are, I think I am skipping, my colleague Vaishnavi is going to dwell upon. This is analysis part, gap description. So this is very, very, very important for each institution to need to know. Because whatever that we have just was talking about is everybody knows about it. What is a gap analysis? Is each institution will have its own, what you can call objectives, mission, vision, which has been emphasized very at the start of commencing it. Supposing for an institution which has been established in the year 2000, supposing now it is 20 to 22 years old. So at least after 5 years, say supposing 16 to 17 batches might have been passed out. So if they once look back and see, what type of vision, mission they had, and whatever product is come out and what they are doing, isn't it? We should make a lot of inventory about it. Supposing in the vision statement of your institute, supposing you would like to say that we have to become a center of excellence in this part of the region, supposing say the eastern area or the southern region, isn't it? So which should able to have what are the missing links, supposing a pragmatic approach they would like to have. So that is the thing which need to be identified. And if you go and make an introspection, whether we are achieved it or not achieved. So if not achieved, every 5 years we should be able to, I think, amend and also make a strategy how to overcome that gap. So that is the gap analysis actually. So each institution shall have its own board of governors and also the HODs and the directors and principals sit together along with the management. If it is a private institution, the government university, it is along with its directors, it will sit and come out. So what are the missing aspects that they are unable to overcome that gap? So next slide. So here the gap analysis has been taken into consideration with industry plus institution, because institution cannot run, because we being the I think institution which need to cater to the needs of the people from time to time. So we need to be, it is like a what you can call it a technology, isn't it? We need to update ourselves and also provide the best of the thing to the public. So here practical approach. In the practical approach, we need to have a time frame and deadlines. We work with those two aspects. Then in the process, we'll also adopt certain schedules, how to achieve the semester 1, semester 2, semester 3, and what are the budget allocation. Supposing we would like to have some climatology laboratory, and the climatology laboratory should result into such type of things. I have visited the CEPT Ahmedabad. I think they have a beautiful 3 crore worth the budget they allocated, and also come out with excellent state-of-art climatology laboratory, which they are also catering to the industry from time to time on a, of course, payment basis, but it's a very good initiative. There is a practical approach. Knowledge of impending day-to-day changes and demands, that also need to be taken into consideration. And also very, very innovative. See, supposing right now the era is of a lot of inventions and innovations, isn't it? It need not be scientific innovations, but also small ideas will change, You make some strategy and come out. So that will give I think, result-oriented, isn't it? Like there's two types of schools of thought, isn't it? Like MBT and MBO, I used to mention, management by objective and management by time. So mostly, I think, of late, a lot of administrators are falling into MBOs. There's management by objective. I think you know better than better at this point of time. You don't want to dwell upon all those details in detail. Then competence with knowledge and skill. Here, application of technical knowledge. There is each one will need to be identified. So we will maybe having certain expertise in our faculty. There's structural, construction, along with material, isn't it? There's a construction expert will be there. There is a BCM who has done. So those who also will be taken into inducted into the faculty. And those who are also having digital skills, they will be also part of the faculty. Then socio-economic aspects with their influence, I think undoubtedly we'll have planners also in our faculty. And laws and regulations, how do we interpret the national education policy? How do we interpret the COA regulations? How do we interpret the NAG regulations? All those also will be taken into consideration. I think we will have a senior faculty who is also well-versed with the regulation part. And also the optimum utilization, very, very scarce commodity is a finance, costing and estimation. I think that need to be taken into consideration. All institutions will be having this challenging task of, because we know no institution will have a sufficient budget allocation of finance, isn't it? Especially for development, infrastructure development, and also for procurement of softwares or equipment, isn't it? There, I think we need to use our skills. Then the communication and management skills, I think most of the, not necessarily senior most faculty, and also those who are well-versed with the management aspects, isn't it? I think they need to be trained if they are good at those aspects, I think once that has been done, I think their knowledge skills have been enhanced. Then overseas knowledge, this I was talking about. Most of we have, I think, app cost, TS cost, isn't it? That is Council for Science and Technology at each state level, followed by DST, Department of Science and Technology. Then we have also AACT, under AACT, and we have certain provisions has been laid out for paper submission. We can get some funding, isn't it? So all those things we need to tap, and design and construction standard internationally. Supposing we'll tie up with certain international agencies and also multinational companies, supposing L&T or any other building material production company, then we can have a tie-up with them and also do some innovations and also technology transfer and also technological collaboration need to be taken up. So this is also one of the area, I think each institution, instead of just following the Council of Architecture. Council of Architecture is the very essence of it is very fine. But only thing is the industry component is also been mentioned, Industry Institute Partnership Cell, which has been again introduced in the ACT curriculum. But the only thing is letter and spirit, I think that is missing aspects. Then inclusion of practical and technical inputs given by industry experts. I think which need to be taken into this. This should be like lab to land aspects, From very time to time, this need to be taken into consideration. It is only not like very religiously, we just had some industrial expert, had a talk, then there is the matter. No, it has to be done in letter and spirit, in full length. I think it is all 365 days, I think we should have some type of interaction with industry, and also it should leads to some type of output. So that I think fulfills the very objective of your, the very vision of your institute. That is the very essence of this gap analysis. I think that need to be consideration, which has been emphasized very categorically by National Education Policy 2020. And also most of the institutions, I think now they are considering their own, they're inviting the people to come and they are going to have a lot of education advisors, to come and introspect about the lacunae in their institute and also give a feasibility about that institute, how to equip, how to come out, isn't it? And also fulfill the gap analysis, which leads to capacity building. I think next part I'm going to talk about the capacity building. Next slide, please. So in order to know your gap, I think that we have this what everybody knows about it. Each institution, I think everybody knows, faculty members, their own strengths and weaknesses. See, each institution will have its own strengths, infrastructure-wise, human resource-wise, research activity-wise, the skill set-wise, and weaknesses also they know. First two aspects they know, but opportunities, I think the leadership of the institute will play a major role in addressing this issue. That is, leaders, the vice chancellors, the directors, or the chairmen of the managing directors of the each private colleges. I think they should be able to take up this as one of the challenging tasks. That is, what is the global need, isn't it? What are the technological advancements? So how should we have our vision, mission, philosophy need to be rewritten? In case, supposing we are going in the right direction, where do we have impediment? Actually, where do we have an obstacle, isn't it? I think that needs to be addressed. So I think based on that, there need to be had this apprentice of training of the faculty. And if they want to be very technologically sound, see, I think most of the parents and also students, I think they will be knowing about each institutional philosophy and also their byproduct after passing out, how they have been placed. So all these things will be done beforehand. So parents and students are also equally intelligent in joining the colleges. So your gap analysis will make an introspection about your strengths and weaknesses, and also will leads to creating an avenue for you to addressing the issue, which has been a hidden statement right now, isn't it? Where I think you can unhide those that statement or also fulfill that, isn't it? For part of this, I think all institutions shall have its open-mindedness and also broad thinking and accommodate the positive vibes and also positive thinking into the administration. Then I think this can be addressed. Next one, please. So in order to do what is we need to have a good capacity building, isn't it? I'm not talking about the institution should rehaul the complete faculty, isn't it? No. So better to equip your faculty, identify their skill set, what are their instincts, their abilities, how do they, the processes with which I think the resources available in the organization or the institute, and also how do you adopt and also leads to the I think fast changing world in this direction, that is your capacity building. And also you should have transformation from the existing scenario. You should completely have a change in mindset and also attitudes. That was the very underlying factor under capacity building, So part of this is a training is one of the things which I think right now the FDP is one of the intent with which I think Council of Architecture is doing in the right direction. And also people should have a right attitude to learn, isn't it? Supposing even at this age, after 30 years of experience, I am also a learner, isn't it? We should always undo our ego and say that, we are learning process, isn't it? While doing it, you should have a lot of, knowledge based, isn't it? Both knowledge is pragmatic and also the technical knowledge, the skill set. Then in the process, you should also upgrade your skill set. Supposing I am poor at digital technologies, isn't it? I should equip myself because I should not say that, no, it is not part of my duty. I am a senior faculty. No, that will not work, isn't it? So I need to also upgrade my skills. In the process, supposing I have in my institute, all are 50 plus, supposing, for example, out of 80% or 70% of the faculty is 50 years plus, isn't it? Where we need to undergo coaching or training. The coaching means what? See, at one point of time, I think we had a program called Compact, where I think one senior most faculty, I think I was just completed my 10 years of service. I was around mid of 40s, I think early 40s. So we have been asked to undergo what is the computer aided skills for architects, contractors, and technocrats. So that was the coaching which has been given to faculty, in-house coaching. So likewise, we should also try up with maybe the Adobe Photoshop, or maybe with Rhino guys, or maybe with the all plugins also. They will come and teach, maybe like a Grasshopper, Dynamo, etc., etc. I think that we should undergo some coaching with respect to digital skills are concerned. Then we should also have a support system with industry. That's what I was talking about. You please try to identify yourself, and also in and around. Supposing, for example, Bangalore. Bangalore is having 24 architecture institutions. Make into 5 zones or maybe 6 zones. Each zone should consist of around 4 to 6 colleges. And in and around that zone, if you fall under within IAC limit or IAM limit, or maybe is there any other like theory, or you have any other well-renowned MNC or a organization with which I think you feel that their support is also required in the upgradation of your skills, have an MOU with them. I think the cluster part will make a lot of difference, which I think we have introduced. I think we are successful also in that area. And development. So ultimately, it leads to your upgradation. So that is called development. So capacity building means right from training, learning, knowledge upgradation, skill set, having coaching with MNCs or other institutions of national importance, and also have a industry support and develop accordingly. The next slide, please. So part of this building capacity, each one need to know the infrastructure availability, their program sustainability, and problem solving methodology. In order to do that, actually, I was telling about the resource allocation, how much you are making right now, and with whom you would like to have a partnership, and what is your leadership looking at these things in a positive direction. And also, in order to do that, you should have the organizational structure, organizational development within your institute, and also the workforce development, isn't it? So you need to have so under each area, you are going to strategically point it out, you should make the workforce development accordingly. That was the then you're building up capacity within your institute. The capacity building framework, which consists of all these 5 aspects. That is existing workforce, what do you have, organizational structure with which you would like to develop, what are the resources available, how much very judiciously you can allocate the resources, with whom you would like to have a partnership. I was talking about the clusters, and also with the national importance institutes, you place a partner. Supposing, for example, Hyderabad is there, we have a 80 in Hyderabad, isn't it? We are also having what you can call it, quality importance of EPTRA, BMTPI, all these, then IIIT, building science department, etc., etc. So that with which also we can have a partnership. And then leadership qualities. So based on this, imbibe and also encourage the leadership, the next level leadership, So that will always pave the way and leads to the better output. The next one. That should going to be a process. That is not a one-day affair. So here, in order to do that, in depth, if you go into detail, the individual competencies we need to know. Then individual competency leads to system development. System development leads to network development. Network development leads to organization development. So in turn, the individual competencies leads to organization development. That is the underlying factor. So individual competencies, learning and development of capability, skills, set, self-reflection of independent use, isn't it? Then system development of normative parameters that we need to consider. Then network development, like I was talking about collaboration with stakeholders, knowledge, experience, coordination, improvement of performance, efficiency, effectiveness. So existing faculty or existing your HR need to be given a proper training, need to be given a proper packages. So they should have a lot of motivation, In order to do that, I think the motivation factor is very, very important. Once your individual capacities will increase, the organization structure development will increase, Once your institution organization development will increase, that leads to, I think your ranking level will improvise, your NAC accreditation will improvise, your placement services of the faculty students will be proper, and your intake will be good. So everything will leads to that type of situation. It means here pay packages, especially I'm talking about the private institutions. I think they'll give designations. Mostly, I think because of the, I think less admissions or whatever it may be, they have to do that. That is one of the impediment. Next one. I'm done with the time. No, I think still I have time. I think I have time.
Yes, sir.
See,
You can go.
yeah.
You have time.
Yeah, I'm just running through, no issues.
Yes, sir, you
See,
can
in order to do that, actually, we need to have a phasing of our programs, which need to be done first phase, second phase, third phase, if required, the fourth phase, isn't it? So I was talking about an institution which has been developed in 2000 or maybe in 2010 or 2015. How you want to be there after 5 years, after 10 years, after 15 years, after 20 years, isn't it? Whether you are achieving the said vision, mission statement, and also are you becoming a center of excellence or maybe the institute of importance in that region, or are you getting the good intake? If you're not doing it, I think something very seriously lacking in your approach. I think there is a very up to first year, you need to have a period. Second, you see, making discipline into the year-wise milestone, that is very, very important in the first phase one. If your 5-year period only established in the year 2020, supposing for example, the COVID period, what was the outcome after first year? You know that, isn't it? After 2 years. So after 5th year, isn't it? You might have had milestones little bit varied because of the certain, I think, all these pandemic issues, etc., etc. If you are established in 2010, so are you in the right direction? So phase 2, from 5th year to 7.5 years. After 5 years, I think your batch is out. So up to 7.5 years, you made a 3rd year batch is coming out, isn't it? 3rd year, your 5 years batches are out, isn't it? So that is the matured period who I think you can able to assess yourself whether you are in the proper direction or not. So that is the very intention of having this quality excellence in education. So your capacity building, your gap analysis leads to your capacity building, how to overcome the gap. So you are equipping your HR, the infrastructure, upgradation of faculty, then tying up with industry. Then ultimately all these things leads to your regulatory agencies. If COA comes anytime in the year, isn't it? Then come and inspect. You have the set infrastructure in place because you are not doing anything only for the sake of regulatory agency. For example, any parent will come and see your building infrastructure, isn't it? He will say that yes, all the things are happening on time, isn't it? Placement, yes, all MNCs are coming into picture. So likewise, each and every time, I think that need to be taken into consideration at any given point of time. The philosophy of the institute with which I think the vision mission statement has been drafted has been followed letter and spirit, and equipping the infrastructure also is there in the tandem, including the I think the library, etc., etc. Then here you can see achieving the quality of excellence in education, research and development activities. So I think of late, I think the emphasis in national education policy is concerned, or from UGC, or COA is concerned, or maybe the ACT is concerned, more emphasis has been given in order to compete with the global market, also global scenario. I think until unless you equip R&D, I think in that direction, most of the universities, they are establishing the R&D cells very exclusive, and they're appointing the heads of the wings of R&D also, and they're also identifying certain scholarships also if the people would like to do on a full-time basis. So that is one thing for faculty is concerned, and also they are I think encouraging the faculty from the private institutions as well as from the industry, those who would like to register themselves into these research activities, they can come and do this. In the process, they're also tying up with the other what you call education imparting institutions of excellence, As I said, like clusters, Hyderabad, we have a IIT, IIT, engineering division, BMTPRA, EPTRA, and BMTPC, etc., etc. You know, I think likewise you can able to see in each and every cluster of university in Bangalore, Chennai. Likewise, you can just see and see what is happening. You can see then knowledge centers. So establishment of working of knowledge center, that is also very important. I have noticed this knowledge center even in SAP Chennai when I have visited once, but this part of the FDP. I think even in JNTU, Hyderabad, Cuddapah also we have this knowledge center. Then innovation center, which is also like innovation center or an incubation center. Innovation is an extension of research and development, and it is in practicality. The innovation and incubation center that I was telling you about the host university in the initial starting. You please tie up with industry, let the industry people come into your university campus, and your research scholar, postdoctoral, maybe at PhD level, they both work in tandem, and they'll come out with certain thing. It need not be an invention. It is maybe an upgradation. It can be like an applied research. That is a part of the innovation center. Then advancement of achieve institution of excellence in 10 to 20 innovation projects. Try to have as many innovation projects as possible, isn't it? So identifying innovation projects in architecture curricula, which is a multidisciplinary in nature. I think the order of the day is to have more, I think, hybridized, inviting the people from automation industry, inviting the people from construction technology background, having people from what you can call it, like PVDF and all those things I was talking about, the polyvinyl difluoride and also the tensile structures, etc., etc. Where at one point of time using M40 was the big thing, dynamic analysis. Now people have started using M80, M100, isn't it? For all these PT beams. I think you please involve even the sisterly concerned disciplines of architecture also to part of us, and you take the lead and come out with the innovation projects, and establishment and working of QAPs, that was also there, I think, quality improvement program. Next slide, please. Here I was talking about the collaborative linkages, which is very, very, very important. I think my emphasis is mostly on these collaborations, because I was talking about the agencies, organizations, institutions, like the IIMs, IITs, IIScs, NITs. Because why I'm talking about a lot of national funding, international funding, and also they are generating their own mechanism of funding. I think that is the order of the day. With whom I think you will collaborate. So when they are collaborating with you, they will also see what are you giving, isn't it? What are they going to have it, isn't it? So it is a vice versa. It is collaboration is both two-way, not one-way, isn't it? So I think there will be successful once we are going to have a collaboration, and also like research centers, like CBRA, HUTCO, EPTRA, TERI, etc., etc. Some central government, also some MNCs are there, with whom I think we can have a lot of collaboration. And also you can also have building engineering departments like NICMAR, etc., etc., and special organizations like we have NRSA in Hyderabad. So with whom also you can able to have some certain collaborations. Next one. So here, once you have your own marking, with NAC accreditation, see, all these things leads to better ranking, all leads to better accreditation, both NBA accreditation under ACT and also NAC accreditation under UGC, National Assessment Accreditation Council, under UGC, which operates from Bangalore. So these things resultant, supposing am I overseas citizen of India, I would like to join my ward into best of the institutions in India, isn't it? What they'll see is whether that has been internationally accredited or ranked, isn't it? So at one point of time, I was just seeing one of the things, even IITs in India has not been internationally accredited up to 250th rank, isn't it? So which has been, I think, just come across very recently. So ultimately, I think what I find, this is the area where if you can able to come out with, compete with the best of the universities in the world, and have a tie-up with them. What are the best practices they are following and why we are unable to follow. Once there is going to be the solution, I think the supernumerary seats of ORA, OCI, NRI, peoples of Indian origin, everybody will join as per the quota system into your institution. That's also going to strengthen. There's also going to be in limelight, this so-and-so institution is having so many of international students, isn't it? So that's going to have a visibility in the market. Then, I was talking about international institutions here for student induction. The second one, then academic exchange programs also. I think we have also had with the Polytechnic of Di Milano, and then we had a lot of other US institutions, and Australia, Griffith University, etc., at one point of time. And I think we are continuing with those MOUs. Likewise, I feel we need to be a little bit more proactive and come out with a lot of visibility at international market, so that we can have better student induction as far as admissions are concerned. Then knowledge gain opportunities and knowledge sharing opportunities. I was talking about, so we are very poor in, I think, digital areas. See, for example, the management of softwares, like BIM, Rhino, I was talking about, then the plugins, certain plugins, I think most of the senior faculty, we need not have, but we can able to induct. The other day I was been to SPA Vijayawada. I think I have noticed lot of young faculty are doing a lot of, including SAP Chennai, I have noticed, a lot of young faculty are doing a lot of work towards these areas. And also, I think encouraging the students to take up, because see, there is international market right now, and the older versions of CAD and all those things has become just tools, isn't it? Where we need to be more well versed with is like rhinoceros, etc. This is about because once you are there, I think people will come to know that I think they are on par with any other international institute as far as imparting education in architecture is concerned. That is the I think underlying factor. Next one. And also you should have your own reserves, financial reserves, So that is a thing, project consultation service, we should leads to the design, planning, construction, research projects. See, you should have a strong consultation cell, once you have all these HR and equipment, infrastructure, then you have total station, you have just name anything, climatology equipment of crores worth, isn't it? So you will have a good consultation, then you will have visibility at international level, national level, state level, then all academic institutions will part in your cluster, then it is multiplied with your R&D facilities, and also time to time your laboratories has been upgraded and with the technical know-how, and you'll also going to have a financial fiscal agreement with a lot of upcoming laboratories or organizations as far as your practical experience is concerned. Next slide. So there's a lot of financial grants, which are available. I think more or less people are aware of funding from various government agencies. I was talking about here. You can just see. You can also tap certain. See, under the 73rd, 74th Amendment Act, a lot of things has been allocated to gram panchayats, municipalities, etc., local bodies. Tap those resources. The private funds. You please, all these alumni organizations, etc., they'll donate to their parent institute. Then grant in aid, you will get from time to time a lot of grant in aid in other than the plan allocation for government universities. There also you can tap in. If private people are there, they can also have certain endowment grants and etc. Then your fee. You see, most of the institutions will see for the break-even thing, isn't it? So I was a principal for almost 10 years, 9 years, 10 months. Now I was almost negotiating with getting the fee, and also because we have more self-supporting courses. So there also, I think it will be a very challenging task. fee structure with the government rules. We have being a government university, we have very nominal fee as compared to the private universities. But still, we could able to do the best of our abilities. Right now, also I think we are doing good. The self-financing courses, schemes, fee structure, international students. There is also an area I think we can able to equip your fee enhancement. Like 5,000 USD we used to charge as per the government approval. Then I was talking about the income from alumni fundraising, and then collaboration partnership. Next slide. This is strategic planning with your partnership and collaborations, then research and development multiplied with your learning resource centers and consultation activities, then teaching technology methods, the leadership vision and strategies. The leadership also should have a vision, accommodate the best of the ideas, so it will not be very redundant. Of course, you need to maintain a system, but at the same time, if you have any spark in any of the young faculty, please pick them up and also give some type of incentive or maybe upgrade them. I think they'll come out with wonders, like I was talking about always. In US, if you go to, they have a thing called BMW concept, beginner's mind wanted. Of course, the experience is also important. They'll hire 3 new graduates and they'll experiment with them, sometimes even 2 fail, 1 succeed, that itself, and they'll pay very nominal. So that was also the concept of best of the utilities, Then adopting changes and advancements from time to time. Don't be very redundant. The evaluation analysis is also part of your strategic planning. This is for next 5 years. You need to plan, wherever there is a lacuna, there is a shortcomings, there is drawbacks, isn't it? So that is the very intention of this slide. Next one. See, everything will follow suit. Accreditation ranking. Once you are equipped with all those things, your state level accreditation, university affiliation, you need not do any type of hanky-panky things. If somebody is coming, just hire some things. You're not required. Everything is there otherwise also. So permission, accreditation, funding, permissions, COA recognition, other valuable accreditations such as Naga, all these things will follow suit, including a private international national ranking system also you can go through, Nowadays, you might have seen that ISO 9008, 2020, 2016, 2000, all those things are also part of accreditation. So I think most of the southern state universities have, colleges have seen with this type of private international ranking. Next one. So in order to do the best of the recruitment induction of faculty staff, I think qualification anyway you are maintaining, and also you please to see to that, all your people will have a skill set, technology and teaching levels, and also international exposure if they have, well and good. Even if they studied from abroad, whether they have applied it or not, also you can be able to see. Then they are having a literary pursuit, means writing papers in international journals also will give a visibility to that institute. And also participate activities which is having a personality development like this, I think you please try to encourage all your faculty, and also introduce certain management courses, I think, which is also not part of it. Even in the curricula, please introduce as elective. I think people will come out with flying colors. And also the non-curricular, extracurricular activities also can be part of the thing. I think you can also take such type of faculty in your stride. Next one. So here I was talking about, good infrastructure, good equipment, state-of-art facilities will become a strength of the institution, well-designed studios, well-lit studios, audio-visual aids, fully equipped labs, interactive boards and smart boards. Then you should have construction yards, material museums, then OATs, all the central library, and research and development. All these things in a nutshell, this we have showcased in this slide, which will give you a provision for best of the infrastructure and equipment to your institute. Next one. So this is also part of this, I was talking about the e-classroom facility you have, then you have a podcast, then you can have industrial competitions, then physical infrastructure, Wi-Fi enabled. I think this is all part and parcel of your national education policy. I think you need to adopt otherwise also. So next one. So here I think industry has to be taken into consideration, and their advancements, and collaborating with them, and upgrading research opportunities for the young faculty undoubtedly is a part and parcel of your mission statement that has to be there. Next one. So this is I was talking about research activities in the next 5 years. Past 5 years, how much you have taken, and the next 5 years, how you have to program it. Next one. So with this note, I think I would like to conclude my session. I think I just made a thought-provoking little bit of insight towards. I think all you guys knows about these things. The gap analysis part, I think of each institute where you are working, you know the strengths and weaknesses of your own. Isn't it? I know my strengths and weaknesses of personally, and also the institute, isn't it? As well, wherever that is required. If supposing after doing this FDP, if you have to go back and also interact with your faculty and also the head of the institution, isn't it? You please also have a cordial interaction, and very in a constructive manner also interact, and see to that, if they are going to be very positive. So these are the things which need to be, because all administrators will have their own challenging tasks, isn't it? Finances is number one. Number two, the time limitation. They'll have what you can call it, the equipment aspects. So all those things, they have their own challenges, So without what you can call it, giving stress and strain to them, what best you go with the solution, not with the problem. So that is any administrator like once you go with the solution, so the strengths and weaknesses of your institute, isn't it? So a small what you can call it, program of revenue generating will just introduce, so that it will be self-generating, and you have to take the lead. So you just want to just say, share the idea and keep quiet, isn't it? You have to also participate and also see to that it will be fruitful outcome it will give. So then I think the type of things will leads to a cordial, and also people won't leave you. I think once you're I think go-getter, and also I think positive vibes are there in you with respect to institution development. Ultimately, the institution will prosper, isn't it? That is the bottom line. And by virtue of you being working there, it will give a lot of insight, isn't it? So with that note, I would like to conclude, and I would like to invite for the queries here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such an insightful session.
Yeah, a little bit fast, but I think it's fine.
Yeah, no, it was very good, sir. And I would like to request the participants, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourselves and ask the questions, or either you can type it in the message box, the chat box.
So good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Tej. No, is Tej? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
sir,
please.
is the vision and mission the same as the philosophy of an institute, or?
No. So vision mission is keep changing from time to time. Next 5 years, my vision is this. Next 10 years, my vision is going to change. Next 15 years afterwards, my vision is going to have my vision and mission is going to have both in tandem. It will work. You have to go with the strategies. Whereas institution philosophy, supposing, for example, I'm just going to tell you, what are the faculty that you had? So you had only just passed out young, energetic faculty in at your side, isn't it? Where there is a lack of practical knowledge. So your institution philosophy has to be redefined. It will be more like analytical. It will be more like, I think, less of pragmatic, more of theoretic. To my knowledge, isn't it? So I think vision mission, while drafting vision mission also, you should see to that, what type of institution that you are going to have, isn't it? So whether that your institution, see, for example, you had a vision for next 5 years, you have to be like this. Supposing after 5 years, if you introspect, you are not in the same way which you formulated, then you have to slightly either change the vision, or your approach or the strategy need to be changed in order to achieve the vision.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
I think I can able to see a lot of young participants, you know. I think people should come out. I think should have a lot of queries, you know.
Sir, I have a small query, sir.
Please, Jen.
Sir, this is regarding the syllabus updation in the universities. That question keeps coming to my mind. Are there any policies by government, like time to time they should be done, because it should be very periodic with the universities that they should change the syllabus, seeing the gap analysis between the practice and the theory part of the architectural pedagogy.
Is it Jarna?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is Jarna.
Yeah, Jarna, I think because I was a BOS member at Anna University or Nagpur University, I was a chairman at my own university. So as far as I am concerned, you know, COA stipulates part A, part B, you know, first 3 years they'll stipulate certain syllabi, and next 2 years they'll part B, they'll stipulate certain syllabi as far as architecture is concerned. So then every 5 years, for example, if you take engineering, there is a 4-year course. Architecture is a 5 years course. So architecture is concerned, every 5 years they should make this is a maximum period what I'm talking about. You should make a syllabus revision. So the syllabus of architecture, supposing 2020-21 batch. Next, by the time they'll pass out, you know, by 24-25 or 24-26, isn't it? 24-25. The people who are going to join in the 24-25, the syllabus is going to change. This is a maximum period. They can also introduce maybe after 3rd year, maybe after 4th year. So the very intention of syllabus here, the curriculum here, is to equip and also impart the best of the abilities to the students. So that is the intention. And also the Council of Architecture has given that wisdom to university through whom you have been affiliated, you know, from time to time, to have the open-ending syllabus of part A and part B, you know, section A, section B, part A, part B. So it need not be all mandatory, you have to adopt as it is, but they will give out of, say, supposing 4,000 credits, you know, so then 3,400 you need to take mandatory, something of that sort. And mostly it is industry driven. So how many you have taken into, say, in our university, the integrated construction materials. At one point of time, we have seen material separate, construction separate. Building construction, building materials, isn't it? Now it is integrated. You are having, I think, each semester you are having history of architecture. Now I think we are going to have 4 semesters history of architecture, including contemporary architecture has been included within modern architecture, isn't it?
Yes.
Something of that.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And because we introduced a subject like green architecture, digital architecture, then the UGC mandated syllabus like barrier-free environment, environmental sciences, which have been mandatory, you know, isn't it? So while doing your thing, you need to, I think, see the grades should not exceed, should not be overloaded to the students. At the same time, address the best of the abilities, and also should have their own philosophy. You know, each institution philosophy need to be also addressed. Yeah. Next one.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, nowadays we can see people are less interested getting admission in architecture. So we know most of the colleges are facing problem with students. Very less students are coming these days in architecture. So how we can improve that?
Very true, very true, very true. Now I'll also endorse with your statement. You know, post-COVID scenario, 2020 onwards, people started having some type of insecurity in their own wards, isn't it? I know a lot of faculty members who are teaching architecture and also practicing, you know, their own wards. I think children, they better prefer to join them into computer science rather than architecture, you know. So I have their own, I think, inhibitions, and also, I think, so what I would like to address is the software is also one of the area which is taking a lot of the admissions. See, for example, in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh is concerned, as far as my knowledge goes, this had a greater impact. I don't know about in Karnataka what is happening in Maharashtra, isn't it? Maybe the same thing. So people would like to see this. I will find the computer science is like a wave, isn't it? So now, you know, a lot of layoffs has been announced in US. So the effect will be there next year onwards. So I think people will tend to change, tend to react very fast as far as, and also people are a little bit what you call vulnerable with respect, because as you know, at one point of time, architecture has been taken as elitist profession. Means they can practice straight away. Now also they can practice straight away, but only thing is people also tend to have some type of job security, you know, isn't it? I think in your 5-year duration, once faculty member has been equipped and also had a lot of confidence with all the mechanisms with which what we had discussed today, gap analysis, capacity building, you know, you are going to make the student aware and also equipped with a lot of confidence. What we need to imbibe in 5 years is not only the subject, but also confidence. So when you are going to imbibe the confidence levels, you know, isn't it? I think maybe 5 years down the line or 3 years down the line, because as you know, we are having hardly 594 institutions in the country. As per norms of 1:10,000 ratio as per COA and the medical council, you know, we are supposed to have 20 to 25 lakh of architects we required. I think we hardly had not even 1 lakh architects in the country, isn't it? So we had a lot of scarcity for this 139, 140 crore population. We hardly had 1 lakh architects, but we are unable to have that advantage, you know, isn't it? Because that is only because end of the 5 years, you know, even student is not having much of confidence whether and they're also taking up software as their alternate option, you know, to do a software job, small course, 3 months course, 6 months course, 1 year course, and get into architecture, isn't it? Sorry, software. So that is one of the parallel professions, and I think in the time to come, you know, not only one area of expertise, even people can apply the digital architecture also, the software into architecture also they can introduce. So with which I think the trend need to change, because once upon a time it is art driven. The architecture is more art driven. Now it is technology driven, art and technology driven, isn't it? So the time is not very far that architects also will have a lot of demand as far as my knowledge goes. Anything else?
I think we can conclude the session, sir.
Thank you, Janna. I think thanks
Thank
for
you.
the time. I would
Yeah.
like to thank the Council of Architecture, then
Thank you,
SPA
sir.
Bhopal, and also Oxford School of Architecture, Bangalore, for giving me this opportunity. And also I'd like to thank my colleague Vaishnavi, also being part of this journey. You know, I think they were interacting with me. I was also I think interacting with her because she's placed in Canada. I am in Hyderabad. So I would like to thank all for this attending this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for a very insightful and information-filled session.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vaishnavi. Yeah. Thank you, organizers. Thank you.
I would, we can go for a 10 minutes break. Then we'll resume back with the second talk of the day.
Yes. Okay. Good afternoon, one and all. I am Naga Vaishnavi Cuddapah. I am actually working in the area of education in architecture and the architectural education in the world, and the comparisons and how we can better it, or how, like sir rightly explained in the first section about the gap. So how do we analyze the gap? Where is the problem? And how do we take it forward? And this research I've been doing under Sir's guidance, Dr. Vijay Kishore Sir's guidance from last 3 years. So next year I'll be submitting my thesis. I just wanted to I'll just start with a small gap analysis, like how Sir said, and give you a structure of how this presentation was structured upon. Basically, like Sir said, gap analysis, if we put it in our own words or in our understanding, it's an understanding between what is the present or the current state right now we are in and where we really want to be, the target state or the desired state. So when we actually try to frame this gap analysis, we do it in 4 stages, that is current state, desired state or future state. What is it? I mean, like first we need to determine both the states, understand where we are and where we want to be. And then we understand the gap between it or the distance that needs to be traveled to achieve those states. And then when you understand the distance, we have next step and proposals that we come upon. This is the actual framework we started this presentation on. And Sir rightly explained that. I would be covering certain research or the factual parts of it, that is giving you an analysis or an outlook on what all the organizations Sir was speaking about, that is the AICTE, UGC, etc. This is just, I'm scrolling upon once for just a recap. We were looking at architectural pedagogy as a holistic approach, because architectural pedagogy alone is not going to contribute to the betterment of a teaching or the students, because we speak about different pedagogy. I'll explain that we are doing right now in further slides. Each of them will have their own resources and applications required. Like, for example, if we take digital techniques or digital pedagogy in architecture, we speak about using virtual reality or augmented reality. But the problem is, we speak about it, but we don't have a skill or the expertise available in every institute to use it in part of teaching. So that's how whenever we were doing a research, we were coming across the limitations in the understanding the architectural pedagogy. So we wanted to do a holistic approach, and that's why we have taken a topic. This has come up. So these were all what Sir already spoke. So when we compare, we are basically concentrating on how to convert a qualitative aspect into a quantitative aspect. That is, qualitative aspects are everything that we speak of right now in every curricula, but they can be better measured and understood if we quantify them. Like how we try to quantify the marks for students, it is very important that we quantify even our progress to understand where we stand. Then these are all what already Sir has explained. So, okay, I'll come straight to the different organizations we were speaking about. Like the first thing we say AICTE, actually the whole architecture world revolves around COA, which is a very encouraging and a very strict statutory body for all the architects. But COA's rules also go hand in hand with AICTE or UGC norms. It is listed under UGC. UGC is University Grants Commission, and AICT is All India Council for Technical Education. Sorry, just a second. Yes, and for AICT, basically it has been sorry. AICT is the only statutory body that deals with coordinated development and proper planning of technical education system in the country. It is made for fields like architecture, engineering, technology, town planning, management, pharmacy, or applied arts or crafts. And these all come under the central government management and consultation of the council. And AICT actually takes our surveys in various fields of technical education at all levels. The funds allocation and disbursement comes as a second to it, whereas that is the first that happens in UGC. UGC is more of a grants commission. It looks into the standard, maintaining the standard of education in different universities in India or in colleges. But then the gazette, it doesn't look into the survey options or maintain these standards in a planned fashion. It is more of a grant organization. Then we have for AICT, you have to follow certain rules to acquire its standards, that is physical infrastructure, campus, and then faculty student ratio, qualifications of faculty, administration, etc. We generally see this to be followed in engineering or the other streams, but it is extremely helpful if we try to inculcate this also along with the COA norms, because it gives a structure for us for a betterment, and like Sir said rightly, to assess where we are at every point of time, because we are acting more like a very coordinated architectural closed body. But once we start competing with the other organizations, or we start understanding the dynamics between the other fields that are competing with us, that is when I think we also look, or we'll be seen in the competition. We had a question previously about why students are not opting. It is, I think, students and parents are looking at architecture, especially after the pandemic, as a field that has not got a stability yet. From a practical point of view, if we have to reach to the market needs or industry needs, we need to tweak our approach a little bit so that we fall into every different structure and we are visible in the competition. Then it regulates the intake for institute per year. Then approval must be reviewed every year for the all AICTI approvals, except for the ones which are accredited by NBA. NBA is National Board of Accreditation. It is not a compulsory accreditation, but it is like if we get accredited by NBA, you get certain facilities and perks from AICT. And the NBA gives it for three years. And NBA is also again works with the dynamics with UGC. So AICT and NBA is basically a voluntary accreditation board. Okay, and it has 2-tier system: higher technical education, like tier 1 institutions and tier 2 institutions. For tier 1 institutions, which are academically autonomous, IITs, NITs, autonomous colleges, university departments, and constituent colleges of universities. And then tier 2, you have non-autonomous universities or departments affiliated to other universities. So it's possible to be approved by AICTE, but it is not required that you be accredited by NBA. So it's not a vice versa process, though, but they have a different relation. Then we have other associations like Association of Indian Universities. It is established in 1925 and it's an Inter-University Board of India and Ceylon. But this majorly concentrates on publishing the university handbooks, coordinates work among universities, provides degree equivalencies comprised of vice chancellors or universities. Basically, the board is there. And degree equivalencies is important because we have a lot of students trying to move from India abroad and do programs in abroad and come back to India. And that's where I think even international exposure and knowledge of education system outside is very important, because there is a major difference between how the education system works in India and outside, even including the licensing structure of architecture. Like in India, we get, after the completion of the course, and the practical training is included as a part of the 5-year curricula. But outside, it is a different structure where you have 3 or 4 years degree undergraduate courses, then 2 years of masters, and 2 years of extensive working experience under architects, and then they are approved of their license. Or some countries even resort for taking examinations or interviews even after the process of 7 years to 8 years of all the prerequisites. Then NAC, National Assessment and Accreditation Council. NAC certification is basically to measure the standard of education provided in higher institutions across the nation. The University Grants Commission actually recently has issued a decree that every university or a faculty must get certified by the council called NAC. NAC body creates its own set of rules, and I think in the next 2 years, we can see all the universities working towards achieving NAC, or even the colleges. It is and they have their own criteria for the accreditation. So the different criteria under NAC accreditation is curricular aspects, teaching, learning, and evaluation aspects, research, innovation, and extensions, infrastructure and learning resources, student support and progression, governance, leadership and management, or institutional values and best practices. These are the criteria that they have given, and all that we have spoken in the first session, that about the placement cells, the research, development, innovation, everything comes under each of these categories mentioned here. And that's why we were looking at a holistic approach, and that are all interconnected and interrelated. Then benefits of doing it is basically like how we said, we fall into a structure and a competitive world with a SWOT analysis and continuous evaluation. Then best practices for quality improvement happens. Then it ensures teaching success, because teaching is now going to be evaluated in terms of all the resources available and the student output, and even the development programs that even teachers or the faculty get. Architecture is a field that we need to be upgraded at every moment. There are changes that happen like every year. None of us, example, none of us expected the pandemic, but there are a lot of different changes that we can see. And the drastic change is architecture is entering into the digital world. And people are looking into new job opportunities or new roles all over the world with a digital architecture. BIM solutions are becoming higher because they want to, understand and assess the consequences of a building after how it gives its byproducts after building it, but do that before doing it. It is included into the prior plans. So there is a lot of change that we can notice world over for the advancement of architecture. Then next we'll speak about NIRF, that is National Institutional Ranking Framework. So National Institutional Ranking Framework is approved by MHRD, that is Honorable Ministry of Human Resource. It provides ranking. It doesn't give an accreditation. It is a ranking body or an organization that will quantify. What we spoke in NAC is mostly about qualitative approach and maintaining standards, and it shows that it has achieved certain level and a standard. It's like a gradation, but NIRF converts the similar criteria that we see in NAC, but in a different terminology, but in a quantified form. Like here, the metric system is going to be like how many, if we are speaking about research and innovation, how many projects have been done, what is the grant that they have received, or how many papers have been published by the faculty or the students. So basically everything is quantified, which comes into numbers that is a normal layman or any even onlooker or the other stakeholders understand in the whole industry part, which shows where we stand. So the ranking parameters are teaching, learning, and resources. That includes student strength, including doctoral students, faculty student ratios, and even it emphasizes on permanent faculty, combined metric for faculty with PhD, and financial resources and their utilization. Research and professional practice, it has metrics like for publication, like I said, quality of publications, then quality of publication is again taken with different standards like Copernicus identification or the reading index, etc. So each of them have their own way of standardized rules and regulations that will define the quality and the reach of the paper publication. The organization that's doing it. Then we have IPR and patents published and granted. Then we have footprint of projects or professional practice. Like I said, it is not about whether we did a campus or a residential. It is going to be more of a quantitative metric, like how much is a square feet that's built, how much is open, or how much is under LEED or any kind of accreditations like that. So it's more of a quantifying or gradation system. Then we have outreach and inclusivity that includes, data about students from other states, countries, then percentage of women diversity or economically, socially challenged or facilities for physically challenged students, etc. Then perception, that is academic peers and employers, their perceptions, etc. So when we look at the difference between NAC and NIRF, actually we are concentrating more on NAC and NIRF because these are the things that are getting stipulated as, or we can expect that they become a mandate in the future, or they are going to at least be a very key factor of gradations or understanding and assessment for all the stakeholders in the industry, including the students and the parents for the admissions. So NAC does assessment on accreditation, but NIRF just gives the ranking. Evaluation method is qualitative, as I said, in NAC, and it is quantifying in NIRF. Accreditation is provided for period of 5 years, but ranking is done every year. So if we have to stay on the ranking, which we get in the starting, then we need to keep upgrading ourselves every year. So this automatically puts us into a structure that keeps happening as a process every year or every 5 years. That gives a very good check on where we are moving towards and what is needed more or what we need to change. So then we have assessment and accreditation. It is done by internal and external evaluation, but rank can be provided only by the data received and how it is verified, like in terms of the quantified data. They are not looking into the qualified data. They cannot judge on a typology of a pedagogy. They can only judge on the outcome that comes out of the pedagogy. Then evaluation is done on the basis of 7 criteria in NAC, but it is 5 parameters in NIRF. Now we'll come to COA. Under COA, we have right now 594 institutions in India that are imparting undergraduate course and architecture leading to recognized qualifications. And we have different types of colleges under this, which we need to understand, because once we understand what type of a college, we know what kind of a rules that apply to these. So there are different constituent colleges or departments of universities or deemed universities. Then we have affiliated colleges or schools, IITs, NITs, and autonomous institutions. And everything is guided or governed by Council of Architecture standards and regulations. And generally what these regulations govern are, this is known to all of us. It is just a recap: duration of the architecture course, admissions to the architecture degree courses, intake and migration, courses and periods of study. If we see, actually, as part of my research, we had done a comparative of the credits and to quantification of credits and the time slots and the examination processes in 5 different zones of India taking a pilot study of different universities or different type of universities and colleges that we mentioned. And we did a comparative study that is yet to be published. Yeah. So the courses and periods of studies, then professional examination, then standards of proficiency and conditions of admissions or qualification of even examiners, standards of staff, equipment, accommodation, training, and other facilities for architecture education. Here, I would like to make a point out of this just for an example. When we look at these, the nature of governing rules and factors that are mentioned by COA, they are all mentioned with the intent for advancement. But due to the lack of resources and other infrastructure, we tend to share the facilities with other departments, where we tend to compromise a little bit on what is required for architecture as such. So I think that is where Sir was stressing, even though we share the facilities or the resources, we need to match it or upgrade it to the requirements of the architecture market as such. This source is taken from Council of Architecture, but to know how the highlights of architectural education in the curricula in 2020, basically this is made in to or get in with the approach hand-in-hand movement of NEP. If we have heard of National Education Policy in India, the new version. So we have the new system introduces choice-based credit system in the curricula. Most of the institutions have started following, but I think still there needs to be a little more distance that has to be traveled in this direction. And we have a lot of options to take CBS system as well, with the new SWAYAM courses and online courses that have come up during the pandemic. I think that is like an opportunity we look, which can be taken and use those credits and examination as part or match the courses in the for the choice if it is not available within our university. So practical hands-on training in 8th and 9th semesters. Yes, this is a thing that has been there, and there were changes in many institutes for sometimes being only one semester, sometimes it's an year. So now it is again changing, and this is something is a difference with the indifference with the external world, or we can say the outside India or other countries, that they look into practical training as an extensive 2 years training, that is after completing all their thesis and the curricula subjects. So then exit option is going to be introduced at 3 years. Then 50% physics and chemistry, mathematics 50% aggregate, and this has been there. Aptitude test plus 10 plus 2. Reservation as per government policy, the seats, like that's where Sir was also speaking about the split up of the seats. When we have mixed kind of inclusivity of students and faculty, there are different ideas and there are different understanding and dynamics that develop. Understanding the different resources and people coming from different backgrounds, that opens up to a different culture and sharing of the knowledge process. Then suprimary quota as per government policy. Then study tours, history, culture, tradition. This is what actually is mentioned, but not really taken very serious all over India. But there are constraints again, which we have investigated in our research. Stress on hands-on learning, like hands-on learning, that is either doing a physical model or using a 3D structure, 3D software to understand the different environment. It's not about just understanding the concept, trying to apply it is very important. In this context, a very different example I would like to quote, but is like best example I can quote to the in this situation is about the green building principles. All of us speak about green building principles. We give lectures and students understand the concepts and they try to attempt even the thesis. But there is a somewhere gap, like how we said, into implementation or converting it into a quantifiable matter. Like lead rules are very clear to students, but they don't know how to apply it for the point system. And that's where we are lacking further practice. And there are countries which are actually working on that. North American North American countries, they have started a new initiative by LEAD and the Green Building Council, that they are getting green building concepts as a hands-on learning into K-12 program. That is the 1st to 10th or 1st to 12th. So it is going to get advanced in comparative to a lot of countries. So this is where international exposure is important. They are taught one concept at a time, not a volume, but they are taught how to apply it. So getting that into schools, I think we can see that as a new thing that's happening in India also. A lot of CBSE and ICSE syllabuses are trying to adopt such procedures. So I think that is somewhere when schools are trying to stress on it, we as an architectural fraternity and institutions, we need to stress more on it. Juries, panel discussions, then qualification of examiners and examinations have increased. Exchange programs with national and international universities are allowed. And this is a very good initiative, because I have been part of, I was lucky to get an opportunity. I had been part of a exchange studio program as a teacher with Bordeaux University in France, with JNTU Hyderabad. And we had a lot of sessions of students visiting each place physically and attending classes for a few months. And then we had even a project that they were housing project that they were working together with across studios, like even using even the e-studio culture that we have through internet, the studio there and here. So it was a very interactive and eye-opening session, because the same site in one location has been viewed in a very different structure from the students from other countries and students from India. So it gives a very different understanding and exposure and sharing. There is a lot of sharing of knowledge between the students as well on the methodologies or the digital structures or construction. So the focus. So there are strengths like we have, and they have a different strength, and both of them were traded and shared. Then using different or establishing different cells like ragging, women's cell, counseling centers, all these are encouragement for a controlled environment or a very positive environment. Then apprenticeship based on learning encourage practice oriented or industry led. Industry led is some term that we'll all have to understand in different ways, like sir rightly mentioned in the first session. We look at industry understanding as we've been looking at it as only the integration of practicing architects and their insights into design studios. But that is where I think we are finding a gap, because that ends with the insights in the studio and not really implemented. So that's where the establishment of consultancy services or research cells that come into picture, or the exhibitions, because when we have consultancy cells or research cells, there are projects which we can involve students and teachers together, which in collaboration with the other industries or other institution, which will help us step a bit more further and stretch ourselves and upgrade ourselves working on it. So the students also get a live exposure. Not maybe 100% of the students do it, yes, but to start with, at least we will start with few, and then the sharing happens in the class. There is a different culture that's developing. Then bridge the gap between industry and education, and I think that is very happens with this. And once we keep showing ourselves, like sir said, into the market or the industry, there is this opportunities for jobs and placements for students as well. we might not have, a lot of us might not have the placement cell concept in architecture because it's a very creative and a very pursuit, but I think for a competitive spirit, now we need to quantify it, we need to look into that direction as well, and that changes are happening because, like sir said, we have a lot of international exposure and different companies that are coming up and different experiences that are happening all over the world. Like we are speaking about even parametric architecture right now, but we need someone who will actually back that kind of a learning and give an experience to students on that front. Parametric architecture, understanding in concepts is a different thing, getting it into implementation is a very different thing. So multidisciplinary approach, that leads to my next point of multidisciplinary approach. Then employability and skill enhancement courses are needed because we look at entrepreneurship or team work or all these things, but which are actually the new norms of any job right now. It is not more of a subject knowledge, but the other aspects as well, because every company or every organization now believes that there is a together growth that happens, and for that it is very important of our other skills as well, the skill sets. Then open electives, multidisciplinary courses, and industry-led approach. Then we have a NEP compliant framework, flexibility to offer courses, like I said, online SWAYAM courses or courses being offered on different platforms like Coursera, etc. Online learning or semester exchanges, then application oriented teaching, then practicing architects involved and facilitated into the projects, then application oriented teaching encouraged, stress on solution finding teaching, not just the conceptual levels, qualification of faculty enhanced for employment, and senior experienced architects involvement. And I think here it is a new thing and very good thing, appreciated, but it has to be in a very balanced manner, that we have senior faculty and the newcomers together, because they get an energy, and senior faculty have a vision and experience. Both combined together will actually make a strength to a studio. Then private practice and research for faculty encouragement, then teachers training before joining made mandatory. Like we are speaking about different pedagogies everywhere for architecture. So it is very imperative that we learn, get trained in that mode, because when we come out or pass out a student, or what we work in practice world has a little difference when we come to the academic world. So that gap has to be bridged. Then different approaches to pedagogy that are actually followed. Now we'll just touch upon a little of architectural pedagogy that happens. Different approaches to pedagogy we see is behaviorism, constructivism, and social constructivism. So in behaviorism, this approach is basically teacher-centric approach or learning practices. It generally focuses on direct instruction, lecture-based lessons, or communicate different topics to students. It has been given by pedagogical research that is done by Thorndike and Pavlov and Skinner. Then constructivism, it can be described as progressive teaching style. Constructive pedagogy places a student at center of learning. Here, student becomes the center of learning, and it can be even referred to as invisible pedagogy, because it is lost in the because it is more of a learning that happens through experiences and reflection of the experiences, or working, or work or play or games, constructive games, like things like that. Exploration, basically we can say inquiry based learning comes under constructivism. Then social constructivism. Social constructivism was developed by cognitive psychologist Lev Vygotsky and builds on this approach is basically on the teacher modeling, questioning, and class instructions to engage students in different activities. Again, it is a activity based, but it a group dynamics, not an individual dynamics. So next, architectural pedagogy. We'll speak about the current 4 or 5 pedagogies that are being used. Technical terms, basically we might not be using it in a technical term to it, but this is a process that we generally keep following, or we do mixed methods and not stick to one. But I think we understand the roots of it, and we try to differentiate between different learning techniques. So first, let's see critical inquiry based learning, where you have inquiry, then research or reflect, then evaluate or construct. This is the mode it happens. When we say inquire, ask questions, discuss, reformulate, then identify the resources and access the knowledge, then evaluate what do these the resources or the questions address, or do they raise new questions, then construct, reformulate, re-examine, or synthesize. Then we have experiential learning. Experiential learning, it is inspired by Kolb's theory of learning. It is basically through first concrete experience, then you have a reflective observation of what experience you had, then you get abstract conceptions, and then you get back to active experimentation of it. It is something like, maybe we can relate it to the reverse process of making a site model in the starting with a different conceptual models, not like a conceptual sketch, but start with conceptual models and put them in the place of a site model and see the context, what is happening on which site, reflect on the site conditions in reflection to the connection to the model, conceptual models that are put up, and then come back into design, where it will show you the light and shadow, the slopes, etc. And I think I have seen this wonderful kind of experimented or teaching in CEPT. And we did it personally in JNTU. And I think I did that with even Oxford College once. And it did really work well, because students started looking at it in a very different perspective. Then process-oriented design pedagogy. It is into, I think this is a thing which we generally follow every time. One is analytical understanding and then creative decision making. So analytical understanding includes exploration, info gathering and analysis, site standard revisions, etc. And next, what happens is, the second part of it is creative design making. Basically, this is a process we generally follow, but the small tweak here is that we gather info, we make the analysis, etc., like site analysis, case study analysis, etc. But a lot of times, the lag happens in transformation of all these analysis in forms of a qualitative or a quantitative spanned interpretation. That connection here in between is somewhere lost, or it gets weak in most of the cases in the studios. I think that is where we need to concentrate consciously with the students, because understanding the case study analysis, like, I think that is where quantification of a quality subject is very important, because we understand the case study, but we don't understand how that footprint is transformed into the design, or how is it, reflecting onto the solution that we are working on. Then we have digital technologies and virtual design pedagogy. We use digital technologies, including the VDS, or like we spoke about, virtual design studios or augmented studios. And these are helping a lot with the teaching proposals, because you can feel the situation and environment in real time. And understanding the situations in real time is something that is saving time. Like, we cannot do a physical model for every project, like on a time constraint. So these, and when well equipped with the resources and with the skill set of this will help us make a fair and a good judgment towards the byproducts that are coming for the next. And this is something which even has a lot of scope for students outside once they are moving out of the institution. Then we have critical inquiry and empirical making in the studio. This is a combination of the inquiry system, detailed inquiry system, and other techniques like virtual designs and the making in the studio. That is a theorization part of it to the implementation. So research in architecture. Next thing, we look at research in architecture as a main topic in the current state, because we unknowingly or subconsciously, we all do research as part of every studio design, but we don't put it in a structure of research. But if it is done in a conscious method of structure of this research, we will be improving it and we'll be able to quantify it into terms of papers like dissertation, thesis, dissertation, undergraduate, postgraduate, or doctoral studies. We speak about only paper publications. That is one way of aspect of quantifying it in doctoral studies. But actually, when we look at the progress around us, it is happening in undergraduate and postgraduate thesis. In fact, in that case, what happens here is, when we look at it as a practical example, architects or architecture students do a lot of research when they do a design project, but we don't know, we don't give it a structure of research as a conscious effort, and we don't present it to the world, but we concentrate only on our presentations for the jury. But the same thing, engineering stream, when they do a small undergraduate dissertation, it is even if it is done in group and guidance under the industry and the academicians, the projects are showcased in different platforms as a competition, and then some things that are a success, like the robotics or a small projects that get succeeded in the competition, are well showcased to the world. So it's we put the same effort, but we don't showcase. That's where the quantification is missing, where we don't assess ourselves in terms of anything for the teaching or for the academics. So basically, design research, we can quantify into two categories here: design research and research projects. Design research, architects and other stakeholders of a project undertake research during a project and identify project needs, inspire the right solutions. For that, we do a lot of digging even into the history and the context, the people, the surveys. We a lot of times we do interact with people when we go to the site to do a site or a context analysis, but we don't really give it a name as a survey to it. So I think that's the difference we're speaking about. Then research projects, research beyond the scope of architectural projects, is carried out by in academia or practice for what can be done for the next future situations, scenarios, and the advancements that are happening. So components of research, we have knowledge, process, and resources. I think knowledge is what we all are having strengths on. Processes, we do it subconsciously, and resources we have, but we don't really combine all three together in a conscious effort. Then there are a few other influence on architectural education, like small things like I would say, but they have a lot of impact, like teacher recruitment and composition in universities. Let's just speak in a very practical, normal terms. We say we have fresh graduates with PG, we have alumni coming in, we have industry experts, we have even amateurs and doctorates and researchers. The mix of all these gives a very different perspective to the subject, and it is required because each of them come with a different strength or a different perspective or a philosophy of architecture. And I think the balance of this is very important with a stipulated guidelines. Then next is a very robust infrastructure for research and innovation and practice that needs, like technical labs, construction yards, library, research and material libraries or digital libraries and workshops. Actually, these are all listed under desirable labs under the COA norms or UGC norms, but they are the resources that make our pedagogies actually get implemented. Like I was giving an explanation of LEED or green building principles, that has a lot to do with even building materials. Unless we have a material library and a very equipped sound material lab or a workshop or a construction yard where students can actually work on a principle, even in a smaller scale, I think what has been taught is not totally received or is implemented. That's where we can span the outcome. Now coming to industries. Now the industry is basically understanding the industry needs is profession generally, it is giving built form to the environment, both with the architectural service and a product that has to satisfy the other stakeholders in the picture. So it largely operates only on the built world or a fixed calendar. So the timelines that we follow and schedules the budgets happens in academics generally don't match with what happens in the practice world. There are a lot of contemporary developments that we need to understand that's going in the industry, based on which we can actually rework or redirect our visions of philosophy or our kind of scheduling. So basically there is a scope expansion that's happening. Like it is not just designing or a complete one-man practice show. They are expecting a lot more duties from the architectural gadgets who are going outside to in the competitive world, like cost analysis, then client relations. And this happens from the expectations from the clients. It's a culture that is there, and it's slowly changing that they don't go for different people for different works. It is more like they go to an organization and get all the things that they require for one project under one roof. So space planning or interior architecture is also becoming part of an complete architectural project right now. Then facade treatments also is coming up. And when we speak about complexities, there is a lot of complexity of activities that happens, that is structure, scale, increase in different kinds of utility buildings. It's no more one utility building or a mixed use that we actually look into our geos. Then emerging building types, like we are speaking, we are having co-working centers, cohabitations, and new environmental sectors where a lot of new building types are emerging, which don't have a prior existing case studies also, which happens, that is a common problem we even notice in thesis students. It all relates to path studies and a new interpretation that comes into the play. So complexity of the building types is also increasing. Then professional competition, we have visual artists and interior designers, landscape architects, contractors, construction managers, developers, everyone coming into the competition of the same field. We don't say that architects don't have a unique or uniqueness, or we have our own identity. But I think all of us to survive and get a further ahead of it, we need to know certain functions of the other competitive spirit or the competitors that are there in our field right now. So looking ahead, next step, when we are spanning the gap, when we look at industry needs, architecture and industry changes in the next 30 years, it's very important to look at a larger picture so that we can work backwards towards the pedagogy and curriculum of what needs to be done. We see an intricate changes like high-rise building construction and technology that's coming up everywhere, increased efficiency of building materials because of the new global warming concerns and stuff. Then we have more resilient buildings coming up. Then we have prefab and off-site construction methods coming up, innovations in BIM technology, then integration of 3D printing technology into the field, then emphasis on eco-friendly practices, virtual reality and augmented reality usage. Here, all these things are forming a new kind of a platform or a new competitive world for the future in the next 30 years. And to compete in that structure or that world, it is very essential that we upgrade our skills and change the way we are looking a little more at all the education system that we are having right now. And there are some industry expectations from the young graduates generally, apart from what we learn in our architectural duties. They are expecting sound technical knowledge, like they include even structural, construction, and materials, not just the design aspects of it. Digital skills, awareness of current trends and demands, regional, national, international demands. Then awareness of socio-economic aspects, knowledge of application of laws and regulations, knowledge of finance, costing and estimation, and then creativity. Expected and extended duties are also there. There are other duties apart from what we look into architecture or other of this. That is, meet with clients to determine objectives and requirements for structure, provide estimates on cost and construction time, assemble structure specifications, manage workers who prepare drawings or documents, develop scale drawings either with computer softwares or by hand, composed contract documents for building contractors, supervise the construction contracts, site visits, and seek new opportunities for marketing and giving presentations. These are very unsaid duties or unmentioned duties that become part and parcel of a architect's life in the practice. And these are expected out of the graduates, or they are getting trained for this. I think these are things that we need to put in mind, because these again influence the kind of subjects and the skills that we include in things like elective subjects or enhancement skill subjects, etc. So, and this is where, when we understand these, we come to the gap understanding and analysis or gap description. These are how we analyze the gap when we understand the existing situation of rules, pedagogy, and industry, and then we come to the institutional gap analysis that is there. And this has been covered in the first session, but I can conclude saying that I can conclude with a note saying that the capacity building is the answer for all of this, because it includes, like Sir rightly said, it includes all the training, learning, knowledge, skills, coaching, support, and development for each of the aspects that we spoke about. And it addresses a holistic approach and a multidisciplinary approach, and we can say a group or a organizational development that needs for an effective implementation of a pedagogy that we use, any teaching method that we use. Thank you. I think I can leave the platform for some questions. And before I do that, I would like to give a small form, a Google form link in the chat box. And I would request every participant to fill that up for your self-assessment based on the both sessions today. It's an exhaustive, basically, for your understanding, it's an exhaustive list of quantifying all that we spoke right now based on NAC, NIRF, UGC, AICT, all the organizations that we spoke about, their reports, how you file reports for those. So it's like a self-assessment test. These questions are very exhaustive. It will take a little 15 minutes of a while to fill it. So kindly interested people, please do fill that and get back to us. If you want any help further, you could contact us on our email ID, and we could help you in understanding it on any questions. But please do try that form, because it is very helpful. I'll just put the link in the chat box. It'll help you understand the whole concept, what we spoke about till now in all the slides, in terms of your institution and analysis, and where you stand as a self-check. Thank you. Jarna, I think I'm done.
Yeah. Thank you, Vaishnavi. I would like to say, if participants have any questions, they can type it in the chat box, or either they can unmute themselves and ask any questions if they have or any queries related to the talk.
I have posted the forms link in
Sure.
the chat box. Kindly please note the link. And it could help any of you to do a self-assessment for you guys. It's a very exhaustive list that we put under each of the criteria of all the organizations, how they assess.
I request all the participants, if you have any questions, please come forth, unmute yourselves and ask. So I think that brings us to the end of the session. Thank you, Vaishnavi, for sharing your knowledge and expertise. We would really like to appreciate you for giving us your valuable time, support and contribution. When you are we're due next week, that is all the best from all of you for a lovely
Thank
journey
you.
of motherhood that you're going to start. Thank you so
Thank
much. At this
you.
point of time, you have contributed. And as the time difference is there and you have contributed complete night of yours for sharing
No
this.
problem.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No problem, Jana. Thank you. This is actually
Thank you, Vaishnavi.
it's my pleasure. It's an opportunity to share the work I've been doing from 3 years. It's just a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
All the
you.
best. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, as we come to the end of today's session, I would like to thank our respected experts and for the successful completion of the day 2 of the FDP for such insightful sessions. Thank you, Vijay sir. Thank you, Vaishnavi. Thank you all the participants for joining in, and thank you COA for giving us this opportunity. Before winding up for day 1 for the day, I would like to brief about the talks for the day 3 sessions of the FDP program. So tomorrow we shall have a talk by Dr. Deepika Shetty ma'am on integrating sustainability in architectural design process in session 1, followed by a talk by Colonel Virendra Kumar Malik sir on the teaching of construction in education, current pedagogy plus innovative design methods. Looking forward to have insightful sessions tomorrow as well. Thank you all once again. With this, we come to an end of today's session. I wish a very good evening to all of you.